business and life success comes down to a lot of things, but this particular thing we want to talk about, that is credit. Let's get started. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Business credit is huge when you're trying to run and start a business. A lot of times you need to make sure that your personal credit is balanced. If not, you're going to run into financing that is going to be very tricky, it's going to be very subjective, and it's going to ultimately hurt your personal credit because you're going to have to personal guarantee. There's these personal guarantees. Be careful with some personal guarantees with if you got to go with these different type of lenders when they're going to ask for you to do a sign off and do a UCC filing. Crazy thing if you start doing that. If you default, they're going to take everything, not just your business. They're going to come after your personal. If you're married, they're going to come after your wife. We have to really understand when we're going after funding who is going to be in jeopardy of being hit with it as well, because it's not just us. I've done that a lot of times, and I rarely would ever personal guarantee anything, especially when it comes to a business. I think that is such a risk, especially if the business is a startup. You need to really grow and understand ways of getting money, growing and scaling your business without having to personal guarantee. If that's what you need to do, just make sure you understand your whole entire business model as well as the cycle. Credit, critical. Credit is so interesting. Credit is more just a game. And it's also just to show that you're disciplined. So you may get a credit card and your credit card may say, you got approved for a $300 limit. Technically, you're only supposed to spend 30% of that. Most of the people who get credit cards, they just get I got a credit card and they start spending. No, the credit card is just to show that you're disciplined with just that little bit of money that they're doing, and then they'll keep giving you increases. So what happens is people get these credit cards and you use that credit card to pay off a bill, pay off a debt, but you're struggling already, so that credit card is just adding to the debt that you already have. You have a credit card, I suggest, understand it's just a game. Almost 30% of your credit score is just going to be you being disciplined and having that card and just either getting it and paying most of it off before the month is over or whenever it hits, or just don't spend or use that card. It's just showing that you can be disciplined with a little bit of money. So I suggest 30% is what they suggest. That's fair. Good, it goes down. Almost excellent means you're only spending 10% of your credit card. Imagine that. You get a $300 credit card. High credit score is this, if that's your goal. You're not supposed to spend over 10%. That means a $300 credit card, you're only spending $30. That's maybe gas for a couple days for people. $30 on a $300 credit. Take it to $1,000. The goal is to understand the game and pay your stuff on time. If you're behind this thing, get caught up. Find ways of just utilizing your credit where it's not something that you're depending on. Those cards, don't get a credit card and depend on that credit card. That's the worst thing you can do. You get approved for American Express and they give you this unlimited balance, and then at the end of the month you look at like, oh my God, I gotta go to pay this off. Be wise with credit. That is gonna be critical because your business has a season. You want this business to grow, to thrive, to reach these levels of 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures. But the reality is that a lot of businesses fail and we jeopardize our personal because we're very optimistic about the business, and that is a scary place to be at. So make sure you don't use as much of your personal within your business. And that's hard, but what it does is it makes you get more creative to be able to be structured. I'm definitely a Christian. I was brought up on tithes and offering, and one thing I find interesting is the message about tithes and offering. To me personally, it's a huge financial message. You have 100% of your money. It's saying give 10%. 10% is telling you now 10% is gone. Now I have to work with 90%. How do you utilize that 90%? I read a book, The Richest Man in Babylon. I've tailored some principles of that in my book, I'm Tired of Being Broke. Is budget managing. You have 90% left. Make sure you pay yourself, put a savings aside, a 10% savings or whatever that amount is. Put that in something that is going to grow and compound and multiply. Critical. You just don't want to put money away and it's just setting. Next thing, now that leaves you with 80%. 80%, I will go and say from that 80, you have 60% to take care of all your bills. If your bills are 70%, then 70%. The remaining 20 to 10%, that's your free time. That's to spend however you want. If you want to go out, if you have different habits, you like lottery, you like, if you're drinking or you like to binge, go to movies, travel, it has to come out of that remaining 10 to 5%. That amount is what you need. A lot of us will pull from our 60% and then we don't have no savings. We have to look at money a lot different. You have to look at credit a lot different. We have to really look at our money that's coming in. If it's not enough, guess what? You need to find other streams of income. Critical. Whether it's a part-time job, whether it's a hobby that pays you money, whether it's you starting a business, whatever it is, you need to look at multiple streams of income. Second job, business. Definitely get into stocks. So start slow with that. Look at ways that you can start growing. Don't just look at the short term. Don't look at, okay, here's 30 days, here's how it's going to look. You have to look long term. Look at from 6 months. If I'm disciplined with these practices, 6 months, a year, so much can change if you're very disciplined during that time. But it starts with just basic practices. Understanding credit. There's so many different styles of credit. You have your Experian, you have your TransUnion. Credit Karma is good. They're talking about a Vantage score. We'll talk about that, a lot different. Credit Karma is really good because it gives you constant updates. And, as you're looking to get more credit and scale and look at everything, Credit Karma is huge. We use it for just a lot of just constant updates. Now, understanding the Vantage score and the Experian FICO score is going to have a completely different. We'll talk about a lot of that, but look at how can you minimize your credit, minimize your debt, and start building it back up. If you have bad credit, it's not the end. You can start back over today. Start getting new debt, paying old debt off, and being disciplined, knowing that if you have credit cards, get your credit card usage as low as possible. That's going to drastically change your credit score. And it's going to take time. You have to be disciplined, but you can't use credit as a way of just paying bills and getting ahead. If you're struggling right now, do not use your credit cards to get out of debt. It's not going to work. Don't go to these lenders also and try to tell them, hey, let me get a financing for this. If it's not the best finance, and sometimes we have to take these loans, we have to take we may want this particular car and we only got approved for this car. You have two options. Take that and understand, here's what your rate is going to be, here's your monthly payments, or you just step back and say, I'm going to be more disciplined, I'm going to get my score up, and I'm going to get the car, the vehicle that I want. It just depends on how disciplined you're going to be, but it starts today. Understand credit, understanding debt, being able to start building business credit so you're not relying on always pulling your personal. Research. Get a Dun & Bradstreet score for your business and start building your business credit. All of that starts today.